This video was brought to you by Brilliant. Amazon Prime Video is the world's second biggest streaming service, with 205 million subscribers. However, despite only being a touch behind Netflix and actually ahead of Disney's combined offerings, they're often pretty overlooked. Yeah, they might have spent absolutely billions on content, but they're struggling to get the same level of attention as the larger, flashier streamers. In fact, with pretty poor numbers across the board, some are wondering, is Amazon Prime Video failing? And if so, what can they do about it? Now, Prime Video obviously has a ton of subscribers, way more than you might have actually expected. But that's not necessarily an indication of quality or affection from their audience. That's because, as you likely know, Amazon bundles Prime Video with their regular Prime subscription. That means if you're a Prime subscriber, likely signed up to get Amazon's next day Prime shipping, then by default, you're also a Prime Video subscriber, as well as getting access to Amazon Music Unlimited, Prime Photos, Kindle First, Prime Reading, Prime Try Before You Buy, Prime Gaming, Prime Early Access, and Amazon Household. Now, let's all just smile and pretend like we know what all of those words mean, and move on quickly. Anyway, the TLDR here is that Prime Video is bundled with every Prime account, which maybe gives us a hint at Amazon's motivations here. That's because Prime Video is essentially a sign-up and retention tool for Amazon. The hope is that if you're not signed up already, then the shows and movies offered by Prime Video will tempt you to spring for a subscription. And then it's very likely that you'll begin ordering more stuff from Amazon. As, well, you've got Prime delivery now, you might as well get that next day order. And if you do already have Prime, Amazon are hoping that by adding Prime Video to the bundle, you're more likely to value your subscription and stay signed up longer. The thing is though, is anyone actually tempted by Amazon Prime Video? They might be spending billions every year on content, but thus far they've struggled to make an impact as big as their subscriber number suggests. Despite being the second biggest streamer in the world, in 2022 they failed to get a single show in the top 10 most streamed original series list, a list which is roundly dominated by Netflix. It's not only viewership either, the cultural impact of their shows has also been significantly lacking. That's because other streamers have series which not only win awards, but also have serious cultural impact. Think Stranger Things for Netflix or Game of Thrones for HBO. Now, Amazon were hoping that they'd be able to break into this pantheon of television with Rings of Power, their Lord of the Rings series which launched to much fanfare last year. In fact, this intention was pretty explicit, with Jeff Bezos even reportedly saying that he wanted his own Game of Thrones, and spending a ton of money to achieve this, with the show rapidly becoming the most expensive TV series ever. However, despite the hype that Amazon tried to drum up, the well-known IP, and the budget, the reaction to the series was pretty muted. Now, to be fair, it did deliver Prime Video's biggest debut ever, but sources suggest that only about 37% of viewers actually made it to the end of the season. More than that, the show struggled to even get a fraction of Game of Thrones' cultural resonance, barely making an impact outside of Lord of the Rings and fantasy circles, and only picking up a single solitary major award nomination, a Screen Actors Guild Award nomination for outstanding performance by a stunt ensemble in a television series. A nomination, but they didn't even win it. Now, Jennifer Salke, the head of Amazon Studios, insists that things aren't all that bleak. She told reporters that internally, Amazon is happy about the results thus far, seeing the show as a success and emphasizing that work is progressing well on a second season. Now, that may well be true, but let's look again at Nielsen's list of the most streamed original series in 2022. Now, if we zoom out, we can find Rings of Power on the list, sitting in 15th place. But it's not even Amazon's most popular show. being beaten out by the still expensive but comparably cheap The Boys. Now, The Boys is an example of a popular show on the service. They do certainly have some popular, if not always that critically acclaimed shows, as well as a handful of more critical successes. However, it's hard to put these series side by side with the output of other studios and see them as a major success, especially considering quite how much money Amazon is dropping on these projects. So, what's happening here? What's going on inside Amazon Studios? Well, let me reintroduce you to one of the key figures in this story. Studio head Jennifer Salke. Salke took over Prime Video back in 2018 and has been at the helm ever since. But her tenure hasn't been without controversy. That's because many former executives and showrunners have bemoaned a lack of leadership and direction coming from Salke and the rest of her leadership team, saying that there's no sense of what their philosophy is or vision for what an Amazon Prime show should look like. Now, that's understandably pretty frustrating for creators, especially considering that one source remarked to The Hollywood Reporter that Amazon has more money than God. If they wanted to produce unbelievable television, they certainly have the resources to do it. Now, Salke defends against these critiques by insisting that it isn't a lack of focus or vision, but an intentional strategy to try and appeal to the broadest programming audience, remarking that we are programming for over 250 million households across the entire globe. We would say we have a big, broad audience that are looking for content that entertains the 4 quadrants. Now, this strategy does make some sense. Amazon is a truly global company, but this strategy doesn't always lead to the best content. In fact, it doesn't always lead to content at all. Amazon has fairly infamously signed huge deals with creatives across the globe that have led to, well, nothing. Following the hype of Fleabag, which performed well for Prime Video in the US, they signed a 3-year deal with the show's creator and star, Phoebe Waller-Bridge, said to be worth $20 million a year. With her talents, Amazon said that she'd be co-producing a TV adaptation of Mr. and Mrs. Smith with Donald Glover. However, unfortunately though, due to clashing creative styles, Waller-Bridge left the project and is yet to produce anything for Amazon. Despite this, her deal was recently extended, with Salke insisting that she'd be working on the streamer's new Tomb Raider series as well as other projects, remarking that Waller-Bridge's perfectionism means that her content might be a little slow, but when she does deliver, she delivers. But this isn't the only deal like this. Lena Waithe signed a $16 million deal over 2 years, during which she produced nothing tangible for Prime Video, before moving over to HBO Max. Now, this strategy, described as star f***ing by one former executive, is a mistake that Amazon seemingly can't stop making, with the same exec remarking they don't learn from their mistakes. They say we can't do more deals like that, but you turn around and they're doing it again. This issue goes beyond just expensive creator contracts though. Amazon is said to be charged more than anyone else for content. That's because Amazon's lack of strong precedent in streaming and their contentious leader has led some to speculate that Amazon is being charged a premium by producers and stars. That's because Prime Video and Amazon Studios more generally just aren't companies that Hollywood is that keen to work with. They're reportedly difficult to collaborate with, Amazon still doesn't have much experience in the industry, and the content they release just doesn't get as big a platform on Prime Video as it likely would elsewhere. As such, The Hollywood Reporter claims that agents in the industry are pretty blunt about Amazon, saying that they're always the 3rd or 4th choice for creatives, and as such, they pay a premium for being Amazon, with their clients much preferring their work to be released elsewhere. So that means that Amazon are left paying a premium for their content just for being Amazon. But not everyone is keen on this liberal spending. Mike Hopkins, Amazon's senior vice president for Prime Video and Amazon Studios, seemingly disagrees with this strategy. In fact, internal sources suggest that there's an ongoing power struggle between Hopkins and Salke over key budget decisions, with Salke apparently keen on spending on what and who's popular, while Hopkins wants to pull back and instead spend on sport. Now, to be fair, that might not be a terrible strategy. Amazon were the first streaming service to sign an exclusive deal with the NFL, securing an 11-year deal to stream Thursday Night Football on Prime, a deal apparently valued at $1 billion per season. Now, that's clearly a lot of money, but following the rollout, Prime experienced their biggest 3 hours in US Prime signups ever, which is clearly a big deal. That being said though, viewing figures for the actual games did fall below what Prime Video initially promised advertisers, resulting in Amazon being forced to compensate advertisers for the underperformance. Regardless of whether Hopkins is right on sport though, this is an ongoing source of tension within Amazon's senior management, with one source saying that Mike cares a lot about budgets, but that's not something that Salke reacts well to. And this whole situation isn't made any easier by Amazon's opaque corporate structure. We might know these characters fairly well at this stage, but with regular reorganizations mixing things up, those trying to untangle Prime Video's power structure often complain about how the company's managed, with one showrunner who regularly works with Amazon Studios saying, "I couldn't honestly tell you who reports to whom. It keeps changing." One other leadership figure we do know a lot about, though, is Vernon Saunders, who was brought in by Salke, having worked together at NBC Studios, and he's now heading up television for Prime Video. But he's also a pretty contentious character. The issue seemingly is that despite being the head of TV, people complain that they have no idea what he really wants. Now, like Salke, he defends this seeming lack of clarity by saying that he's catering for a global audience. But that's not how some of his colleagues apparently see it. That's because former Prime Video employees have said that Saunders prefers to rely on data to make decisions than anything else. That's data from focus groups, which colleagues have accused of pointing them towards boring, broad, less inclusive programming, and data from audience metrics. Now, unsurprisingly, a big tech company like Amazon has a lot of data coming out of Prime Video, which it immediately uses to score programs' performance. However, this data doesn't necessarily produce the best content, as if the Prime audience grows to expect just content featuring white guys with guns, then that dictates who subscribes to Amazon, leading to a sort of self-fulfilling prophecy. However, it's not just the mess of people leading Prime Video, which leaves them confused, dominated by data, spending tons on content, attempting to cut budgets, disagreeing over creatives, and pushing towards sport. The studio's relationship with Amazon is also pretty fraught. Unsurprisingly, while Amazon has attempted to employ people who are used to working with Hollywood, there's always going to be some sort of disconnect between the major retail and cloud computing business based in Seattle and the Prime Video team in Hollywood. And then again, there's another disconnect between Prime's often relatively inexperienced and quite corporate staff and the broader creative scene in Hollywood. As such, Hollywood is becoming increasingly worried about their relationship with Prime Video, with their parent company, Amazon, making major cuts alongside other big tech companies. There's a concern that this belt-tightening will hit Prime too. Salke disagrees with this theory, insisting that they're going to continue investing heavily in the industry, remarking, "Do we pressure ourselves to be more disciplined, more strategic? Of course. We consistently examine if we're producing the right amount of content at the right value to drive the most engagement across our service." The question is though, without a real hit show, without a clear strategy, with them paying over the asking price for movies and programming, how much longer will even a company with more money than God continue to shell out on Prime Video just to get people to sign up for Prime? Now, that's obviously a big balance and a difficult decision for Amazon, but one smaller, easier decision that you can make is improving your skills and your career prospects with Brilliant.org. That's because while we all know that the promise of AI is that it will make our lives easier, it's very possible that it will make our work lives more difficult, replacing some people and requiring different skills of others. Brilliant, however, is the best way of improving your STEM skills quickly and in a fun way, investing in your own human intelligence. That's because Brilliant has thousands of lessons, from foundational and advanced maths to AI, data science, neural networks, decision-making, and more, with new lessons added monthly. And by the way, these lessons are interactive and engaging, designed around principles of active learning. So there's no boring lectures going on here. That means that by investing just a few minutes every day in lifelong learning, you can improve your skills and feel a real sense of accomplishment. You can try everything that Brilliant has to offer for free for a full 30 days by clicking the link in the description. Plus, the first 200 people to do so will get 20% off Brilliant's annual premium subscription. So thanks for your support and for watching TLDR.